This lesson is called Circumference of a Circle, so you'll be able to find the circumference, the radius, and diameter of a circle, and then you'll be able to apply the knowledge to everyday objects. So let's look first at some vocabulary. So the first vocabulary term here is circumference. The circumference is the distance around a circle. So in the diagram I have below, the circumference would be this red circle that I'm tracing here. This would be the circumference of the circle. Sort of think of that as what makes the circle a circle. It's the line along the outside there of the circle. The diameter is the distance across the circle. So that's this blue line here that I'm going to sketch. This is a diameter, is the length across of a circle. So straight across the circle is the diameter. And then the green line here that I'm going to sketch is the radius. The radius goes from the center of a circle to the edge of a circle. So the green line is the radius. It goes from the center to the edge. The blue line is the diameter. It goes all the way across the circle. And then the red line is your circumference. This is your distance around the circle. So it's basically what makes your circle the circle. So circumference when you're given the radius. So if we think of a circle, remember the radius goes from the center to the edge. This is a radius. I'm going to label it R. So if we want to find the circumference and we have a radius, so we have a line that goes from the center to the edge of the circle, what we'll do is we'll do circumference equals 2 pi times the radius, or C equals 2 pi R, where R stands for the radius. If we're given a diameter, so if I have a circle and I have a line that goes all the way across the circle, like this, so like this blue line, this is a diameter. I'm going to label it D. Diameter goes all the way across. If we're given a diameter, then what we'll do is we'll do circumference equals pi times the diameter, or C equals pi times D. So you're going to want to write these two formulas out. Circumference, so when you're given the radius, circumference is 2 pi times the radius. If you're given a diameter, which goes all the way across a circle, circumference is pi times the diameter. So let's look at a couple of examples. So let's look at example number 1. You can still see the formulas on your screen. We want to find the circumference of circle P. Leave your answer in terms of pi. So in this circle, we have a line that goes from the center to the edge. Remember, when it goes from the center to the edge, it's a radius. So we have a radius. So we're going to be using this first formula right here, C equals 2 pi R. How do I know I should use that one? Because I have a radius. My diagram matches this diagram right here. So circumference equals 2 pi R. Well, let's identify. R is how big? How big is the radius? It's 8 centimeters. So I'm just going to plug in 8 for R. So the circumference is going to be 2 pi times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. So this would be 16 pi centimeters. And they wanted us to leave our answer in terms of pi, so we're just going to leave it like that. Let's look at example 2. So find the circumference of a circle. Again, we want to leave your answer in terms of pi. So here's example 2. So notice, this time the line that I'm given goes all the way across the circle. It's the whole line. So since it goes from one end of the circle to the other, I know that I'm given a diameter because it goes all the way across the circle. So the way that we're going to find the radius when we know the diameter is we're going to use the second formula. We're going to use circumference equals pi times the diameter. So in my example, the diameter is the length all the way across the circle. So here my diameter is 16 yards. So I'm going to plug in 16 for D. So the circumference is pi times the diameter, which is 16. So the circumference here would be 16 pi, and this was yards. And so you're done with that one. So the important thing here is what you're looking at is you want to look, do you have a radius? So do you have one like this, like example 1, where you have a part of a line that goes from the center to the edge? Or do you have a diameter where it goes all the way across the circle? So you really need to pay attention to what information you're given. Are you given a radius or are you given a diameter? So these are the first two formulas that you're going to need to use in your homework. So the next thing we're going to look at is how do we calculate the diameter? So the diameter is 2 times the radius. So if I want to calculate the diameter, I would just need to know the radius. And I would just do d equals 2r. So whatever r is, I would just multiply it by 2 to figure out the diameter. So let's look at an example, example 3. So find the diameter of a circle. Now we don't have a picture of the circle, but we do know the radius is 49.3 yards. So maybe this is my circle, and from the center to the edge is 49.3 yards. So this is a radius. Remember, the radius goes from the center of a circle to the edge. So if I want to calculate the diameter, I'm just going to use the formula that you see over here to your left. I'm going to do diameter equals 2 times the radius. Well, I know the radius. It's 49.3. So the diameter is going to be 2 times 49.3. This would be 98.6 yards. So that is my diameter. So all you do to find the diameter is you just multiply the radius by 2. So basically what this will give you is this whole line. So I'm going to sketch this blue line in here. This blue line would be 98.6 yards. So the next formula that you're going to need is the formula for calculating the radius. So the radius is 1/2 of the diameter. So if you know the diameter, you could easily calculate the radius. It's going to be this formula right here. Radius is 1/2 of the diameter. So if we know the diameter, the radius is just going to be half of that. So here's example 4. So what is the radius of a circle that has a diameter of 16 inches? So remember, the diameter goes all the way across the circle. So my diameter is 16. So if I want to figure out the radius, I want to say the radius equals 1/2 of the diameter. I know what the diameter is. The diameter is 16. So this would be 1/2 of 16, which is 8. So my radius here would be 8, and then this was in inches. So that would be 8 inches. So that would be my radius. So if you want to calculate the radius, you're just going to divide the diameter by 2. If you want to calculate the diameter, you're going to multiply the radius by 2. So just so we can see what this looks like, the radius being half of the diameter would be, if I was just to go from the center of the circle to the edge, that would be 8 inches. So that would be my radius, just be 8 inches. Notice it's just half of my diameter. The last example we're going to look at is an application problem. Example 5. So this is your application problem. So it says Wiley Robinson just bought a trampoline for his kids to use. The trampoline has a diameter of 6 feet. So a trampoline has a general shape of a circle. So I'm going to draw a trampoline. So trampoline looks like it has the shape of a circle. And the diameter of the trampoline, they tell you, the trampoline has a diameter of 6 feet. So remember, diameter goes all the way across the circle. So the length from here all the way to here, this is your diameter, is going to be 6 feet. It says if Wiley wishes to put up netting to go around the outside, so just to keep the kids safe, that way they don't fall off or anything, how many feet of netting does he need? So they want the exact circumference and then an approximation. So what we're going to be doing here in example 5 is to figure out how much netting needs to go around this black part right here that I'm sketching over in red. So to figure that out, you're just going to use the formula for the circumference. So you'll say circumference equals, and we have a diameter. So if you go back and look at your formulas, the circumference, to calculate the circumference when you have a diameter, you're going to do pi times the diameter. So it's circumference equals pi times the diameter. So the circumference equals pi times the diameter is 6, right? They told you that it was 6. So I'm going to do pi times 6, which we would just write that as 6 pi, and then this was feet. So this would be your exact answer. Your approximation will be C is approximately 6 times 3.14 feet. So you'll just plug that into your calculator. So 6 times 3.14 is 18.84 feet. So this is the approximation. So your exact answer, the circumference of the trampoline is 6 pi feet. And then the approximation is that the circumference of the trampoline is about 18.84 feet. So he would need about 18.84 feet of netting to go around the trampoline. So you should be able to complete the Math Excel assignment called Circumference.